Are you comfortable with the part of what he said when he talked about the guns trained on her face, 9 barrels shooting at her?
Jay, what he's doing, and if you take the whole thing into context, he's trying to explain that there are people in Washington that make decisions that involve people's lives. I mean, these decisions are critical, they're vital, and these people need to put themselves in the shoes of those who are actually going to be on the front line. That's the point that President Trump was trying to make. I think the reason this is blowing up right now is because we're only 4 days away from the election. President Trump is winning, and this is another desperate hoax, just like the bloodbath hoax.
That's CNN host and man often confused with Droopy Dog, Jake Tapper, desperately trying to get the Liz Cheney hoax to stick just days before the upcoming election. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like CNN devoted most of its newscast Friday to peddling the false claims that Trump threatened Liz Cheney during an interview with Tucker Carlson. That is, until the narrative quickly dissolved and they reluctantly had to retract their statements and apologize.
You know, we ran the clip. We ran the whole clip, and we're not saying he's calling for her to be assassinated or killed.
Her facing guns.
Yeah.
And an assassination.
Yeah.
I don't know how you define hoax. This is nothing a hoax. We ran his clip, and, you know, there are people who are legitimately offended by that. And
it's a distortion, Jake. This is a distortion.
I ran the entire quote, Senator. We ran the entire thing.
Yeah,
This is a
distortion about violence. And the violence he's talking about is the violence that's perpetrated on our men and women in service and the decisions that are made by people like Liz Cheney to send them into the throes.
Liz Cheney was an assistant secretary of state. When did she send anyone into battle?
I think President Trump is making a broad statement and using her as an example of the war hawks in Washington that make these decisions from the comfort of an office, perhaps not taking into account the fact that there are very serious consequences. Those consequences are realized by those people that are in the foxhole, those people that are actually in combat situations. That's what he was illustrating, and nothing more.
So you think that anyone that takes issue with him invoking, let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her when the guns are trained on her face, you think anyone that takes issue with that is either perpetrating or falling victim to a hoax? There's no one that can legitimately say
what I'm
that's
saying, Jake, is this
violent
is a distortion.
Imagery at a time. What's a distortion? I read that we played the whole
clip.
clip.
This is a distortion of this is a distortion of what President Trump meant, and you know it. President Trump wasn't calling for any type of violence on Liz Cheney.
I didn't say he was.
What he's talking about was her to consider the violence that anybody that we put into that circumstance might face. It's as simple as that.
You know, this is why most people hate CNN. They don't have the backbone to just admit their liberal bias like MSNBC does. So they're constantly put in a position of featuring conservative guests that liberals don't like, then gaslighting them when they get called out for being political hacks. All to maintain a patina of being professional, objective journalists. But we all know that's not the case. I mean, we already saw that clip of Dana Bash contradicting what Tapper said, but here's an even more egregious one from Casey Hunt's show.
I don't think you even need to call it fired upon. He's saying quite explicitly and unambiguously that Liz Cheney should be shot, should be executed by firing squad. That is appalling. It is a small facet of the reasons why he's unfit for office, and the Republican Party has made a disastrous mistake renominating him. All that said, since we're here for the punditry, I don't know what this gets him, right? If his problem is freaking out suburban women who don't like the chaos, don't like the violent rhetoric and all that kind of stuff, that's just not a great closing argument. Let's execute a political opponent who happens to be a woman because I don't like her. And does that pull more low propensity voters in his coalition to the polls? I honestly don't think so.
Now, as I said before, CNN is already taking its foot off the pedal with this because anyone with 2 brain cells could look at that clip and understand the context that Trump is talking about. I mean, even Bill Maher's caught on at this point. Trump was obviously speaking about powerful elite war hawks like Liz Cheney being far too comfortable paying for things with the lives of other people's loved ones. This isn't a new concept or critique. Black Sabbath wrote a song about it, for crying out loud. That CNN panelist issued a half-hearted apology in a social media post saying, quote, "I let my disgust at Trump's comments get the better of me as it was the first time I had heard them." Then he went on to attack Trump and try to justify his initial response to the quote. You know, call me crazy, but that doesn't seem too genuine to me. But let me know what you think. Was CNN suggesting that Trump was doing more than he was? Or was it just a simple misunderstanding on their part? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye!